Hi everyone, it's Nicole here with the 5 waiting wombs, and it has been such a long time since I've done a vlog for the 5 waiting wombs, so I'm really excited to finally get back on the channel. So first of all, because I missed last week because things are just crazy in the Orange family lives at the moment. We are currently trying, well, we haven't actually signed up to anyone yet, but we're in the process of selling our house. We're in the process of selling Martin's dad's house. We're in the process of buying another house. We're in the process of buying a new car because ours is breaking down. And we're also in the process of a frozen embryo transfer. And we are also in the process of starting up my business, so things have just been absolutely nuts here. So what's going on with me is that we are in the midst of a frozen embryo transfer. So we've been trying to conceive, if you're new to me and you don't have a clue who I am, just a really quick spiel is that my husband and I have been trying to conceive a baby, but I've got PCOS. We did fertility treatment for 2 years starting in 2008, and then in 2010, after 7 cycles of Clomid and 6 or 7 cycles of Paragon injections, nothing worked. So eventually in 2010 we did IVF. We didn't do a fresh embryo transfer because I got ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome and ended up going to hospital for 8 days. I was in absolute agony. It sucked. I don't even want to think about it. And then we did a frozen embryo transfer in December of 2010. I got my big fat positive and I gave birth to a healthy baby boy, Roman, in August 6, 2011. So he is currently 19 months old, very busy, very bossy, but I love him. And now, because he's 19 months old and time's ticking on, we thought, it's time for baby number 2. We started trying to conceive baby number 2 in July 2012. What year are we? 2013. So yeah, June, July last year, which was 2012, we decided to start trying to conceive baby number 2. Nothing happened. I was cycling on my own, which is a big miracle, because that's the whole reason we had to do fertility treatment, was because I wasn't cycling, I wasn't ovulating or anything like that. And Clomid, I didn't even ovulate on Clomid. I think I ovulated once, the very first cycle. And Paragon did get me to ovulate like 2 or 3 follicles or eggs at a time, and nothing was happening. I still wasn't getting pregnant. So the fact that I was cycling after I finished breastfeeding Roman was a miracle, and we just were like, right, we need to start trying for a baby now. We need to take up this opportunity. And 9 months later, still no baby, and my cycles grew further and further apart to the point where my last 2 cycles were 70 to 80 days long. So it was just nuts. And so I think I'm pretty much going back to what I was, and I've lost 14 kilos in weight, so I thought that would help, but now it's just, I'm just obviously going to suffer with PCOS my whole life. I know it's incurable. I currently take metformin for it, which makes me incredibly ill, so I can only take 1 tablet a day at the moment, and I try to take 2. Some days I can cope with 2, other days I just feel like I've got severe morning sickness. It really sucks. So what is it, a couple of months ago we decided that it was time to use our embryo. After our IVF, we got 20 follicles, 18 eggs, 15 of those eggs were mature, 9 fertilized. Oh, it's so long ago now I can't remember my numbers. 9 or something fertilized, and so we had quite a few, but then because I got overstimulated and I got ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, I had lots of eggs, but they were not good quality. So in the end we only had 2 embryos, and Roman is one. He was a 5-day-old embryo, and we have one frozen at the moment, and that is a 6-day-old embryo, and it is already hatched out of its shell, which is really awesome to see in the photo. So we decided it was time to use that embryo, and I am currently on Proginova, and I get a blood test and an ultrasound next week, and then I take Utrogestin, which is a progesterone pill, which you can take orally, but at my clinic they get you to take it vaginally because apparently it oh no, it's better that way. I don't know. It's yuck anyway, it's disgusting. But yeah, so our embryo transfer is scheduled for the 26th of March, so it's only, I don't know, what, a couple of weeks away? I don't know. I don't even know the days of the week anymore, I'm so busy. So hopefully I don't miss it, hopefully I don't forget, because I'm that busy and I keep forgetting to take my pills, so I've got to have an alarm to take my pills. That's the huge difference between having infertility with baby number one and, like, you know, everything's like, I'm taking my pills at this time and I'm doing this at this time and I've got everything written down on calendars. And now that I've got that baby and I'm having the second round of infertility treatment, it's like, I'm forgetting to do things, and it's just like I'm hardly thinking about it, which is good and bad at the same time. But it kind of takes the mind off having a very busy toddler. And you know, I still ache for another baby, I still really want another baby so bad, but I guess my mind is elsewhere because I have another little person to look after, which kind of helps. So that's pretty much what's happening with us, so it's just nuts, but it's good though. I like being busy, it's fantastic. You know, we've got a huge year coming up this year. 2013 is going to be an absolutely crazy year, but you know, in a good way. If I get pregnant especially, we're going to have a baby due in December. In fact, if it works, I'll be due around about the 11th of December, and my sister's wedding, which I'm a bridesmaid for, is on the 13th of December, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, but yeah. Yeah, and then we're, you know, going to be shifting and getting a new car and updating our house and a few bits and pieces like that. So that's what's going on with me. If you would like to follow that journey, the link to my channel is in the description box below. And I'm not going to do a huge spiel on it because the other womb bees have done a really great job, fantastic job at talking about it. Personhood legislation, I can see where they're coming from. What they're trying to do is they're trying to stop abortion, I think, is the general reason for this legislation. But so they're trying to basically say that a fertilized egg, so an egg and sperm, and they have joined and fertilized to form a zygote. There are certain times that the name changes. I think zygote is the right one, I hope. Sorry if I'm wrong. And I think they're trying to state that that is life. Life starts at fertilization. And for me personally, it's a very, very hard topic because I really, really don't like abortion. I don't like abortion at all, and I think that stems from the fact that I tried so hard to have a baby, and there are people who just go and have babies and then they just abort them, and I'm sure abortion is hard for anyone who goes through infertility. I completely understand that. But then I know of people who have had abortions, and I've listened to their reasons for it, and the reasons I really don't like is oh, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money. That's completely selfish. I really don't like that at all. But then it stems into, well, if you don't have enough money, then maybe this child is not going to have a great quality of life because the parents are going to be poor. Maybe they're not going to be fed well, they're going to be malnourished and things like that. So abortion is not a black and white subject. There are a lot of grey areas with abortion, but personally I just don't like it. I really don't. But that's just me, and I will never get an abortion. What this whole the reason the 5 waiting wombs are doing a topic on this is because there may be repercussions for people who do IVF and IUI. So when you do IVF, obviously you stimulate your ovaries to produce a lot of follicles. In a typical cycle you produce maybe, you know, 1, maybe 2, and that's how you get fraternal twins. So basically what may happen, and you know, from all the way over here in New Zealand, I can only go off what I've read, so I'm not 100% sure. If you want to know exact details, you need to go and do some research yourself. So so they're trying to say that an egg and a sperm is life, and when you do IVF and you've produced lots of follicles, and then they mix the sperm with the eggs that come out of the follicles and create these embryos, and if you have a lot of embryos, you obviously cannot put them all in at the same time, because, you know, usually they only like one, in New Zealand anyway, and if you're under 38 and you've got an embryo, you're only allowed one embryo implanted at a time. Very rarely are you allowed two, and that's only if maybe they're very bad quality, so the chances of them implanting is very low. So at the end of the day, you've got all these embryos sitting in storage, and that was my worst fear. When we began IVF, I went and saw my pastors and I said, you know, what do you think about this? You know, I may get a lot of embryos. Say I've got 6 or 7 embryos, and I do not want 6 or 7 children. No way. You know, what is going to happen to them? Because the only options in New Zealand is to destroy them, or to donate them, or to use them. And I really didn't like the option of donating them to people, because, I mean, I know the heartache of infertility, but I just thought I could not go through the rest of my life looking at every blonde-haired, blue-eyed child that passed me in the street going, is that my child? And it even makes me feel really a little bit teary about it, talking about it right now. Like, I could just not imagine wondering the rest of my life where that child was, what they were doing, are they being treated well? I just wouldn't be able to handle that. And although they do have the option of donating your embryos to science, I think they actually don't do that in New Zealand. And I wouldn't want that option either. So my only other option would be to destroy them. And if the personhood legislation were to come in and I lived in America, that may not be allowed, because it would be considered murder, because these embryos are considered life if that legislation went through. So it is a really touchy subject, and it is really hard, and there is no black and white for it, I don't think. So what the people who are putting this legislation through need to really think about is that there needs to be exceptions for things like IVF and IUI, because really, when you spend so much money on IVF, like a typical cycle might be $10,000–$11,000, right? You don't want to go and just create one follicle, one egg, because the chances of them fertilizing are quite small. That's why you need a lot, because then your chances of having a few embryos to work with is a lot higher. So if the legislation came through, you know, things might change, that you may not be allowed to do that anymore. You may not be allowed to create a lot of embryos, which makes things really difficult. So I'm so grateful that I'm not in America. I'm so grateful that my country is not doing this legislation. I don't know if it's passed or not yet in America. I don't think it is. I think they're just talking about it. But basically, I can see where the people who are putting the legislation through are coming from. I can see how they want to protect these unborn babies. But then I can also see the side of those of us who need to do fertility treatment, and how that really might affect us. So they really need to, there needs to be something that protects the IVF and IUI and just fertility treatment in general, as well as protecting the babies. It is a really touchy subject, and it is really hard, and like I said, there's no black and white. But that's as much as I'm going to cover today, because like I said, the other womb bees did a really great job in expanding on the little details. So if you want to know the real little details about the personhood legislation, go back and look at the other womb bees who did their vlogs before I did, and see what they have to say, because they were great. They were really good. They covered a lot, and I just don't want to repeat all of that. When it came to my personal situation and my embryos, I obviously have some sort of attachment to them, because I didn't want to give them away. So does life start at fertilization? Yes, to me personally, yes, I guess it does. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So I guess it is situation by situation based. I don't like abortion, but I also think that there needs to be something that protects those of us who are doing IVF and IUI. So that's pretty much all from me, you guys. Check out the other womb bees, because they are awesome. Say hello to the newbies as well. They have done a great job so far, and I just want to welcome you guys to the channel too. You guys are awesome. Alright, so that's all from me, and we will catch you next week for a bit of a fun vlog. See ya.